Chapter 5 The Tale of the Gold Lender of Babylon. 50 pieces of gold! Never before had Rodan, the spearmaker of old Babylon, carried so much gold in his leather wallet. He strode happily down the king's highway from the palace of his most liberal majesty. Cheerfully the gold clinked as the wallet at his belt swayed with each step. The sweetest music he had ever heard. 50 pieces of gold, all his. He could hardly believe his good fortune. What power in those clinking discs! They could purchase anything he wanted: a grand house, land, cattle, camels, horses, chariots, whatever he might desire. For what should he use it? That evening, as he turned into a side street towards his sister's home, he could think of nothing he would rather possess than those same glittering heavy pieces of gold, his to keep. It was upon an evening some days later that a perplexed Rodan entered the shop of Mayfon, the lender of gold and dealer in jewels and rare fabrics. Glancing neither to the right nor the left at the colourful articles artfully displayed, he passed through to the living quarters at the rear. Here he found a genteel Mayfon lounging upon a rug, partaking of a meal served by a black slave. "I want to counsel with you, for I don't know what to do." Rodan stood solidly, feet apart, hairy breast exposed by the gaping front of his leather jacket. Mayfon's narrow, sallow face smiled a friendly greeting. "What indiscretions do you have that you seek the lender of gold? Have you been unlucky at the gaming table? Or has some dame entangled you? I have known you for many years, yet never before have you asked me to help with your troubles." No, nothing like that. I don't seek gold. Instead, I wish for your wise advice." Here, what do you say? No one comes to the lender of gold for advice. My ears must be deceiving me. They hear correctly. Can this be so? Rodan, the spearmaker, who displays more cunning than all the rest, comes to Mayfon, not for gold, but for advice. Many men come to me for gold to pay for their follies, but as for advice, they don't want any. Yet who is more able to advise than the lender of gold, to whom many men come in trouble? "You will eat with me, Rodan," he continued. "You will be my guest for the evening. Ando," he commanded of the black slave. "Draw up a rug for my friend, Rodan the spearmaker, who comes for advice. He will be my honored guest. Bring him lots of food and get him my largest cup. Choose the best wine so that he may enjoy drinking. Tell me what your troubles you. It is the king's gift." The king's gift. The king gave you a gift and it troubles you. What manner of gift? Since he was so pleased with the design I submitted to him for a new point on the spears of the royal guard, he presented me with 50 pieces of gold. And now I am perplexed. I am sought out each hour of the day by those who want to share it with me. That is natural. More men want gold than have it, and wish the one who comes by it to easily divide. But can you not say no? Is it your will not as strong as your fist? To many I can say no, yet sometimes it would be easier to say yes. Can one refuse to share with one's only sister, to whom he is deeply devoted? Surely your sister would not wish to deprive you of enjoying your reward. But it is the sake of our Araman, her husband, whom she wishes to see a rich merchant. She feels that he has never had a chance, and she begs me to loan to him this gold, so that he may become a prosperous merchant and repay me from his profits. My friend, resumed Mathan, you bring a worthy subject to discuss. Gold brings to its possessor responsibility and a changed position with his fellow men. It brings fear lest he lose it, or it be tricked away from him. It brings a feeling of power and ability to do good. Likewise, it brings opportunities whereby his very good intentions can lead him into difficulties. Did you ever hear of the farmer of Nineveh who could understand the language of animals? I will tell it to you, for you should know that there is more than the passing of gold from the hands of one to the hands of another when borrowing and lending. This farmer, who could understand what the animals said to each other, lingered in the farmyard each evening just to listen to their words. One evening, he heard the ox bemoaning to the ass about the hardness of his lot. I labor pulling the plough from morning until night, no matter how hot is the day, or how tired my legs, or how the bow chafes my neck, I must still work. But you are a creature of leisure. You are trapped with a colourful blanket and do nothing more than carry our master about where he wishes to go. When he goes nowhere, you rest and eat green grass all day. Now the ass, in spite of his vicious heels, was a goodly fellow, and sympathized with the ox. My good friend, he replied, you do work very hard, and I want to help ease your lot. Therefore, I will tell you how you can have a day of rest. In the morning, when the slave comes to fetch you to the plough, lie on the ground and bellow so much that he says you are sick and cannot work. So the ox took the advice of the ass, and the next morning the slave returned to the farmer and told him the ox was sick and could not pull the plough. Then, said the farmer, hitch the ass to the plough, for the ploughing must go on. All that day, the ass, who had only intended to help his friend, found himself compelled to do the ox's task. When night came and he was released from the plough, his heart was bitter, and his legs were weary, and his neck was sore where the bow had chafed it. The farmer lingered in the barnyard to listen. The ox began first. You are my good friend. Because of your wise advice, I enjoyed a day of rest. And I, retorted the ass, am like many other simple-hearted ones who start to help a friend, and then end up doing this task for him. Hereafter you draw your own plough, for I heard the master tell the slave to send for the butcher were you to be sick again. I wish he would, for you are a lazy fellow. Thereafter they no longer spoke to each other, and this ended their friendship. Can you tell me the moral to this tale, Rodin? It's a good tale, responded Rodin, but I don't see the moral. I thought you wouldn't. But it is there, and simple too. Just this. If you wish to help your friend, do so in a way that will not bring your friend's burdens upon yourself. I hadn't thought of that. It is a wise moral. I don't want to assume the burdens of my sister's husband. But tell me, you lend to many, don't the borrowers repay? Mathan smiled a smile of one whose soul is rich with much experience. Can a loan be well made if the borrower cannot repay? Mustn't the lender be wise and judge carefully whether his gold can perform a useful purpose to the borrower and be returned to him once more, or whether it will be wasted by one unable to use it wisely and leave him without his treasure, and leave the borrower with a debt he cannot repay. I will show you the tokens in my token chest and let them tell you some of their stories. He brought into the room a chest as long as his arm, covered with red pigskin and ornamented with bronze designs. He placed it upon the floor and squatted before it, both hands upon the lid. From each person to whom I lend, I exact a token for my token chest, to remain there until the loan is repaid. When they repay, I give it back. But if they never repay, it will always remind me of one who was not faithful to my confidence. The safest loans my token box tells me are to those whose possessions are of more value than the loan they desire. They own lands or jewels or camels or other things which could be sold to repay the loan. Some of the tokens given to me are jewels of more value than the loan. Others are promises that if the loan is not repaid, as agreed, they will deliver to me certain property in settlement. On loans like those, I am sure that my gold will be returned with the rental thereon, for the loan is based on property. In another class are those who have the capacity to earn. They are like you who labor or serve and are paid. They have income, and if they are honest and suffer no misfortune, I know that they can also repay the gold I loaned them and the rental to which I am entitled. Such loans are based on human effort. Others are those who have neither property nor assured earning capacity. Life is hard, and there will always be some who cannot adjust themselves to it. Alas, for the loans I make them, even though they are not larger than a pence, my token box may censure me in the years to come unless they are guaranteed by good friends of the borrower, who know him as honourable. Mathan released the clasp and opened the lid. Roden leaned forward eagerly. At the top of the chest, a bronze neckpiece lay upon a scarlet cloth. Mathan picked up the piece and patted it affectionately. This shall always remain in my token chest because the owner has passed on into the great darkness. I treasure it, his token, and I treasure his memory, for he was my good friend. We traded together with much success until he brought a woman out of the east to wed. Beautiful, but not like our women. A dazzling creature, he spent his gold lavishly to gratify her desires. He came to me in distress when the gold was gone. I counseled with him. I told him I would help him to once more master his own affairs. He swore by the sign of the great bull that he would, but it was not to be. In a quarrel, she thrust a knife into the heart he dared her to pierce. And she? Questioned Roden. Yes, of course, this was hers. He picked up the scarlet cloth. In bitter remorse, she threw herself into the Euphrates. These two loans will never be repaid. The chest tells you, Roden, that humans in the throes of great emotions are not safe risks for the gold lender. Here, now this is different. He reached for a ring carved of ox bone. This belongs to a farmer. I buy rugs from his women. The locusts came and they had not food. I helped him, and when the new crop came, he repaid me. Later he came again and told of strange goats in a distant land as described by a traveller. They had long hair, so fine and so soft it would weave into rugs more beautiful than any ever seen in Babylon. He wanted a herd, but he had no money. So I lent him in gold to make the journey and bring back goats. Now his herd is begun, and next year I shall surprise the lords of Babylon with the most expensive rugs it has been their good fortune to buy. Soon I must return his ring. He insists on repaying promptly. Some borrowers do that? Queried Rodin. If they borrow for purposes that bring money back to them, I find it so. But if they borrow because of their indiscretions, I warn you to be cautious if you ever want to have your gold back in hand again. Tell me about this, requested Rodin, picking up a heavy gold bracelet inset with jewels in rare designs. The women appeal to my good friend, bantered Mathan. I am much younger than you, retorted Rodin. I grant that, but this time you suspect romance where there is none. The owner of this is fat and wrinkled, and talks so much and says so little, she drives me mad. Once they had a lot of money and were my good customers, but ill times came upon them. She had a son, who she wants to make a merchant. So she came to me and borrowed gold so that he might become a partner of a caravan owner who travels with his camels, bartering in one city when he buys in another. This man proved to be a rascal, for he left a poor boy in a distant city without money and without friends, pulling out early while the youth slept. Perhaps when this youth has grown to manhood, he will repay. Until then, I get no rental for the loan. Only a lot of talk. But I do admit the jewels are worthy of the loan. Did this lady ask your advice as to the wisdom of the loan? Quite otherwise. She had pictured to herself this son of hers as a wealthy and powerful man of Babylon. To suggest the contrary was to infuriate her. A fair rebuke I had. I knew the risk for this inexperienced boy, but since she offered security, I couldn't refuse her. This continued to Mathan, waving a bit of a pack of rope tied into a knot. Belongs to Nebatur, the camel trader. When he buys a herd larger than his funds, he brings this knot to me, and I lend to him according to his needs. He is a wise trader. I have confidence in his good judgment and can lend him freely. Many other merchants of Babylon have my confidence because of their honorable behavior. The tokens come and go frequently in my token box. Good merchants are an asset to our city, and it profits me to aid them to keep trade moving so that Babylon can be prosperous. Mathan picked out a beetle carved in turquoise and tossed it contemptuously. A bug from Egypt. The lad who owns this does not care whether I have ever received back my gold. When I reproach him, he replies, "How can I repay when ill fate pursues me? You have plenty more." What can I do? The token is his father's. A worthy man of small means, who pledged his land and herd to back his son's enterprise. The youth found success at first and then was overzealous to gain great wealth. His knowledge was immature, his enterprises collapsed. Youth is ambitious. Youth takes shortcuts to wealth and desirable things. To secure wealth quickly, youth often borrows unwisely. Youth, never having had experience, cannot realize that hopeless debt is like a deep pit into which one may descend quickly and where one may struggle vainly for many days. It is a pit of sorrow and regrets where the brightness of the sun is overcast, and night is made unhappy by restless sleeping. Yet I do not discourage borrowing gold. I encourage it. I recommend it if it is for a wise purpose. I myself made my first success as a merchant with borrowed gold. Yet what should the lender do in such a situation? The youth is in despair and accomplishes nothing. He is discouraged. He makes no effort to repay. My heart turns against depriving the father of his land and cattle. You tell a lot that I'm interested to hear, ventured Roden, but I have no answer to my question. Should I lend my 50 pieces of gold to my sister's husband? They mean a lot to me. Your sister is a sterling woman who I greatly esteem. If her husband came to me and asked to borrow 50 pieces of gold, I would ask him for what purpose he would use it. If he answered that he desired to become a merchant like myself and deal in jewels and rich furnishings, I would say, what knowledge do you have of the ways of trade? Do you know where you can buy at the lowest cost? Do you know where you can sell at a fair price? Could he say yes to those questions? No, he could not, Roden admitted. He has helped me in making spears and he has helped some in the shops. Then would I say to him that his purpose was not wise? Merchants must learn their trade. His ambition, though worthy, is not practical, and I would not lend him any gold. But supposing he could say, yes, I have helped merchants a lot. I know how to travel to Smyrna and to buy rugs at low cost. I also know how many of the rich people of Babylon to whom I can sell these at a large profit. Then I would say your purpose is wise and your ambition honorable. I should be glad to lend you the 50 pieces of gold if you can give me security that they will be returned. But would he say, I have no security other than that I'm an honored man and I'll pay you well for the loan? Then I would have replied, I treasure each piece of gold. If robbers took it from you as you journeyed to Smyrna, or took the rugs from you as you returned, then you would have no means of repaying me and my gold would be gone. Gold, you see, Roden, is the merchandise of the lender of money. It is easy to lend. If it is lent unwisely, then it is difficult to get back. The wise lender doesn't want the risk of the undertaking, but the guarantee of safe repayment. It is well, he continued, to assist those that are in trouble. It is well to help those who fate has laid a heavy hand. It is well to help those who are starting so that they can progress and become valuable citizens. But help must be given wisely, lest, like the farmer's ass, in our desire to help, we take upon ourselves the burden that belongs to another. Again, I wandered from your question, Roden, but hear my answer. Keep your 50 pieces of gold. What your labor earns for you and what is given to you as a reward is yours, and no man can obligate you to part with it unless you want to. If you want to lend it so that it may earn more gold, then lend it with caution and in many places. I don't like idle gold, and I like risk even less. How many years have you worked as a spearmaker? 3 years. How much besides the king's gift have you saved? 3 gold pieces. Each year that you have labored, have you denied yourself good things in order to save from your earnings 1 piece of gold? It is as you say. Then might you save in 50 years of labor 50 pieces of gold by your self-denial? A lifetime of labor it would be. Do you think your sister would wish to jeopardize the savings of 50 years of labor over the hope that her husband might experiment on being a merchant? Not if I spoke in your words. Then go to her and say, I have labored for 3 years each day except fast days, from morning until night, and I have denied myself many things that my heart craved. For each year of labor and self-denial, I have 1 piece of gold to show. You are my favorite sister, and I will want your husband to engage in business in which he will greatly prosper. If he can submit to me a plan that seems wise and possible to my friend Nathan, then I will gladly lend to him my savings of an entire year, so that he can have an opportunity to prove that he can succeed. Do that, I say, and if he has the soul to succeed within him, he can prove it. If he fails, he will not owe you more than he can hope to someday repay. I am a gold lender because I own more gold than I can use in my own trade. I want my surplus gold to labor for others and therefore earn more gold. I don't want to risk losing my gold, for I have labored greatly and denied myself greatly to secure it. Therefore, I will no longer lend any of it where I am not confident that it is safe and will be returned to me. Neither will I lend it where I am not convinced that its earnings will be promptly paid to me. I have told you, Rodin, a few of the secrets of my token chests. From there, you can understand the weakness of men and their eagerness to borrow that which they have no certain means to repay. From this, you can see how often their high hopes of the great earnings they could make if they had gold are but false hopes that they have not the ability or training to fulfill. You, Rodin, now have gold, which you should put to earning more gold for you. You are about to become, as I, a gold lender. If you safely preserve your treasure, it will produce great earnings for you and be a rich source of pleasure and profit your whole life. But if you let it escape from you, it will be a source of constant sorrow and regret for as long as you live. What do you want most from the gold in your wallet? To keep it safe. Wisely spoken, replied Nathan approvingly. Your first desire is for safety. Do you think that it will be truly safe from possible loss in the custody of your sister's husband? I'm afraid not, for he is not wise in guarding gold. Then don't be swayed by foolish sentiments of obligation to trust your treasure to any person. If you want to help your family or friends, find other ways than risking the loss of your treasure. Don't forget that gold slips away in unexpected ways from those unskilled in guarding it. You may as well waste your treasure in extravagances than let others lose it for you. After safety, what else do you desire of your treasure? That it earn more gold. Again, you speak with wisdom. It should be made to earn and grow larger. Gold, wisely lent, may even double itself with its earnings before a man like you grows old. If you risk losing it, you risk losing all that it would earn as well. Therefore, don't be swayed by the fantastic plans of impractical men who think they see ways to force your gold to make unusually large earnings. Such plans are the creations of dreamers unskilled in the safe and dependable laws of trade. Be conservative in what you expect it to earn so that you can keep and enjoy your treasure. To hire it out with a promise of usurious returns is to invite loss. Seek to associate yourself with men and enterprises whose success is established so that your treasure can earn liberally under their skillful use and be guarded safely by their wisdom and experience. Thus, you can avoid the misfortunes that follow most of the sons of men to whom gold entrusts gold. When Rodin tried to thank him for his wise advice, he would not listen, saying, "The king's gift will teach you wisdom. If you want to keep your 50 pieces of gold, you must be discreet indeed. Many uses will tempt you. Much advice will be given to you. Numerous opportunities to make large profits will be offered to you. The stories from my token box should warn you. Before you let any piece of gold leave your pouch, to be sure that you have a safe way to pull it back again. Should my further advice appeal to you, return again. It is gladly given. Wherever you go, read that which I have carved beneath the lid of my token box. It applies equally to the borrower and the lender. The slogan reads, "Better a little caution than a great regret."